So the world is calming down, said Donald Trump this morning in Davos, thanks to, he says, his efforts as he launched an international board of peace. At the signing ceremony of the charter in Davos, the US president said threats to Europe and America were really calming down, claiming much of it was because he had built or rebuilt the US military. Let's have a listen.
Today we're announcing more details regarding the board of peace, so important. This board has the chance to be one of the most consequential bodies ever created, and it's my enormous honor to serve as its chairman. I was very honored when they asked me to do it. We had an idea to do it, and then they came, they said, you be the chairman. And but I take it very seriously. We have a great group of people and incredible young people that are leading it from within. It's running beautifully, started already, and every country, just about every country, wants to be a part of it.
Just about every country wants to be a part of it. Let's speak with John Sweeney, the journalist and author of Killer in the Kremlin as well. Afternoon to you, John.
Good afternoon, Ian.
Nice to have you with us. One of the most consequential setups in history, says Donald Trump, and he was very grateful that he was appointed. Oh, I think he appointed himself, actually. But nonetheless, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Is he right on the first point that this thing has some teeth and it will make a difference?
No.
Any particular... I do love a one-word answer, you little tinker. What? No, I love it. I love it. I understand the spirit of it as well. So why not? Because it did... You know, he made a big thing of it. There's some big players there. Tony Blair, for goodness sake. I mean, it doesn't get any better, does it?
Well, I mean, get real, Donald Trump. Tony Blair is not the British Prime Minister and hasn't been so in the lifetime of quite a lot of us. Obviously not me or you, but he's not the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister has said, I'm not joining this, or that's the message, because you've invited the war criminal Vladimir Putin, who's currently prosecuting a brutal war against the Ukrainians, which is part of Europe. It's a democracy. And yeah, you know, it's fine for sort of Blair to take part in this charade, because presumably nobody asked Tony Blair to be a pantomime dame during the panto season. But, you know, this, if somebody is to say, this is serious diplomacy, all I can say is, oh, no, it's not. It's a joke. No one in Europe, none of the big players in Europe, neither Britain nor the French or the Germans or the Dutch or the Italians, and not the Danes, and certainly not the Greenlanders or the Icelandics, have joined this nonsense, because Vladimir Putin has been asked, and the Russians are saying, oh, yeah, fine, we'll bung £1 billion to this nonsense. But what's striking is, you know, the people, two people have signed up for the £1 billion, two countries, Russia and Pakistan, and neither of them are proper functioning democracies. All the great and powerful democracies of the world who said, no, we're not doing this. It's stupid. It's a vanity project. I'll be interested to see whether the US Senate, and it needs a 2/3 majority of the US Senate to ratify this, and basically that is something like there's 100 people in the Senate, so that's 66 or 67 votes. It'd be interesting to see, and roughly there is a tiny majority for the Republicans, like 51 to 47, a couple of independents. It will be interesting to see whether Trump can get the 66 or 67 votes through the Senate for this, and how many Republican senators will peel off. He may still do it, but by the time of the midterms, that's this November, America will elect 1/3 of its Senate. And I think the Republicans will get a thrashing. And what will then happen is that Trump is in a much more difficult position to get this kind of nonsense through, and he's in trouble. He will be in trouble then.
I mean, if for no other reason, when you look at this roll call, John, I mean, Vladimir Putin on the peace board would just be satire, and quite bad satire on any other day of the week. Tony Blair being there, let's remember his CV in the Middle East is not exactly one you'd whip out as your greatest accolade. That's also a bit of a dark joke as well, isn't it?
I mean, well, yeah. I mean, like, who else hasn't been invited? Harold Shipman, Jeffrey Epstein. It's not good. This is the fascist international. And I think it's a mistake for Blair to... I think Blair wants to do something useful as far as he sees it in Gaza. And this is the price worth paying. But I thought Mark Carney, the Canadian Prime Minister's speech at Davos the other day, was quite something. And he set out, listen, we're not in a transition, we're in a rupture. And effectively, he was pointing his finger at Trump, but also the Chinese Communist Party, and Putin, and saying, listen, here are the big powers. They're behaving disgracefully. They're behaving as though might is right. And we, who are the middle powers, people like Canada, but also that means us and Britain too, and the individual component countries of the European Union, France, Germany, etc. We need to stand up for what we believe in. And I think that Blair's, Blair's argument that he's some kind of Democrat is just he's holed himself. He has embarrassed himself by taking part in this charade. It won't last long. It will have no real function apart from being a talking shop for the fascist international, for people like Putin, who bomb civilians, who bomb kids, who's currently freezing Ukraine, and poor people in the big cities are freezing. And the reason they're doing that is because Vladimir Putin isn't, he's not prosecuting his war at all successfully against the Ukrainian army. He's seeking to freeze and chill the bones of the poor Ukrainian civilians. This isn't on, and Trump's Board of Peace is a whitewash organization, won't last long, and the quicker it dies, as far as I'm concerned, the better.
Could it not have, I mean, I could say you're very cynical, John Sweeney. Maybe it is just, look, listen, you've been around the block, I know that you think about these things before you say them, but there is always that possibility, sometimes the strangest things happen out of the most curious set of events. Could it be that this incredible? I mean, it's a big old cast of characters he's got there. They could do it, John.
Yeah, Ian, there are no fairies down the bottom of your garden. I'm not going to talk about Santa because I don't know, but kids might be listening. But there are, listen. The great threat to European security, to us in Europe and in Britain, is Russia's brutal war against Ukraine. Russia invaded Ukraine twice. Now, all of that has been knocked off the agenda in Davos because this silly man with his silly walnut whip hairdo has said, Donald Trump has said, I want to take Greenland, possibly by force. And the big moment at Davos was when Trump came along and said, actually, I'm not going to do it by force. So that threat has gone away. But it's a massive waste of everybody's time. The consequence, of course, is grim. What it means is every country in the world who can afford it is going to start thinking about getting their own nuclear weapons, because America's great, guarantee to the world is, we will hold the ring for a civilized rule of law based order. And with Trump, that's gone out the window. Trump 2, Trump 1 wasn't so bad, but Trump 2, that's gone out the window. And this means the world becomes a much less stable place. He's created this organization because he doesn't like the United Nations, but the whole of democratic Europe and us, the British, and the Ukrainians and the Canadians have said, we're not taking part. Now, I'm pretty sure the Japanese, the Australians, the New Zealanders, and all the other good people around the world who've got a country and a democracy worth defending, they're having nothing to do with this. It's Donald Trump and the fascist international. It's a disgrace. It has no benefit to any of us who care about Western civilization, the rule of law, democracy, or anything like that. And it's a waste of time. However, it helps the dictators. It helps China and Russia say, oh look, Russia's being Russia's invited back into the Commonwealth, if you like, of civilized countries. No, it's not. Russia is a disgrace. Its dictator is a fascist, and Trump should not have invited him onto his silly board of peace. And it ends there. The fact that he's got a bit of kind of political crumpet, Tony Blair strutting his stuff, doesn't matter. It's nonsense.
I'll put you down as an undecided, shall I, John? Listen, always good to talk. Thank you, John Sweeney, the journalist and the author with us on the programme. Thank you to him.